Invite our first guest speaker today, Tim Damianidis. Thank you, Tim.
Hi, everyone. I'm probably the last person you choose to stand up and talk to a crowd. I'm not a witty person to entertain you. I'm not overly intelligent to be able to answer all your questions that you might have. As I said, I'm probably the last person you'd expect to be here. I'm neither a tradesman nor a professional of greatness or anything like that, and I'm definitely not a soldier. That's for sure. And so I'm nothing really of anything that you would consider important. Like there are so many people out there that you would follow and say, oh yeah, we want to hear what this person has to say. But what I would like to express is one thing that I do know, and that is a knowledge of a very specific little thing which is called democracy. And I know how to, from scratch, build a nation of free people. And I know how to create a democracy, but not on my own. It doesn't rely on myself. I just have that knowledge. What good is money without the ability to decide your own destiny? What good is it to have lawmakers in Parliament without the ability to decide to make the laws that we want? What good is it to have judges without the ability to form a 1,000-strong jury to be able to decide on what is and what isn't justice? What good is it to have law enforcers obey the governors instead of the people? What good is it to have a government that doesn't have a mechanism in place to listen to the people? Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm expressing now are the marks, the factors that determine the freedom within a society. For generations, we believed that a handful of people in the streets could sway the government through protests. When the convoy to Canberra reached its destination in 22, a demand was made to be heard. People marched to the capital city to demand that their voices be heard and acted on. Yet the cries fell on deaf, tyrannical ears. The federal government was closed to the people. When the workers, police, nurses, and professionals laid their garments and then their clothes, work clothes, at the State Parliament House in 21 to protest and demand to be heard again, none were permitted to voice their opinions, and they were definitely not permitted to see their thoughts or their cries enacted on. When average citizens went to the local councils, so we've gone through the federal, we've gone through the state, and now we're going to the councils. When we went to the councils in 2024 to request action, the local councils voted against us. When we went to Joondalup, for example, and a few other places. And whatever was made, whatever progress we found in some local councils was actually reversed later on. So anyway, the voice of the people asked to be heard again, and it was denied. So then who amongst you now thinks that we could use the sacred word democracy to describe this tyranny? The military now is like a child's playground. It's filled with dangerous toys. I'm going to describe to you the 5 places that people are occupied in, what they occupy their times with, and I'm going to describe quickly and briefly each one. The military is like a children's playground, as I said. The old disciplines are gone. They run to medications and pills and things like that when they get injured. Minor injuries. I'm not talking about significant things. And then they learn how to survive in groups, but they don't know how to survive on their own. They lose that skill when they go in there. And not only that, they've decided that they're going to point their weapons not at the enemy, but at their own mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters, as they did in Melbourne. I'll group the police with that, special forces and whatever else, in that category. And even today, they line up for experimental medications. Many don't know that, but they actually line up for experimental medications, not just the jabs. And like children, they are led in that direction. Many professions now, we're talking about the professionals, the doctors, the lawyers, the teachers, all of them have some regulatory body like APRA, the Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency for doctors, the Australian Institute for Teaching and School Leadership, AITSL, the Pharmaceutical Society of Australia, the PSA, the Law Council of Australia, and so forth. And as an example of what they've done through these agencies, I'm going to use the teachers. Where did the teachers put the books Brave New World? Where did they put 1984? And where did they put Animal Farm? I've got contacts that work in these libraries, and they said they're not in the hands of the kids. Now to our agrarians, the farmers amongst us. Agriculture industries have also been swayed. Under the guise of renewable and environmental concerns, much of agriculture has been steered towards the unsustainable system that prioritizes environmental goals over agricultural ones. They put the emphasis on environmental, but they don't put the emphasis on agricultural. Isn't it the farmer's craft to produce the best tasting and valued crops it can produce? Isn't that what the farmer's supposed to do? And how then can we sacrifice the best foods for sake of meeting environmental goals or global sustainable goals? When we grow crops that kill bees, at some point we have to question this, don't we? And finally, when the cost of meeting environmental goals takes away food from people's plates, when it gets to that stage, which is at the moment happening around Western Australia and Australia, shouldn't we question the value of such a policy? The environmental stuff, right? Affecting our farmers. There's also stuff we can say about the merchants, the businesses, the small businesses that have gone bankrupt over the last decade or 20 years. So many of them used to exist, like the barber shops. Where are they now? There's a few of them dotted here and there, but they're all gone. There's nowhere you can get your hair cut as a man, that is. The delis on the corner of each block, they're all gone. These are all the small business attempts of people that try to make a living. And they're all gone. They're all going. And what's replacing them is a franchise system where we see the same franchise exist within a shopping centre, like a big multi-billion-dollar shopping centre, and the people within it are actually small guys. They're actually buying these franchises, and they're going bankrupt. And then they buy it. Somebody else steps in and buys it, and they go bankrupt. But all we see is, I'm not going to use the names of them, but there are multinational organisations that still have their brand posted on the banner there, and you still go in and you're thinking, it's been there for ages. Well, the small guys are the ones paying the cost. But the other factor that I want to mention is that if the business itself is large and follows the rules of environmentalism, globalism, and all the other aspects, they get a pat on the back and they get a whole bunch of money poured into their business. And then the tradesmen, the people that are working with their hands, what about them? They're also affected, mainly through the cost of living, I could go on with a lot more things to say about it, but the cost of living is affecting the pricing that they give to people, and they usually go for the cheapest costing choice rather than the best quality choice. Well, like in a few years ago, decades ago, they would give you what actually worked. as a solution, to your piping problems, your gas problems, whatever it might be. But now they give you these cheap solutions that are workarounds. It's got to that stage now. And our old houses used to have timber roofs and tiles and things like that. If you take a trip up north of the river, past around Butler and up that way, if you go up that way, you'll see that our housing's actually got tin instead of wood for the roofing structure, and they're using tin on top of the actual tin itself. So the structure itself within the housing is made out of tin, and the roofing on top is made out of tin. And they're not using brick; they're using plasterboard in a lot of situations. So we're suffering as a nation on all these fronts. On all these fronts. I mean, even the florists, they're going for the cheaper flowers, trying to find bush flowers to sell and all that kind of thing. Anyway, a wise man said to us that, going back into ancient history and all that, a wise man said that a tyrant will divide and cause people to distrust each other. He's going to keep us poor and make it so citizens can't take political action. And that's what I've just described to you, really, isn't it? They've divided us in a myriad of ways and groups. They've sowed distrust, confusion, and disharmony. They intend to keep us poor, or in a state where we can't actually finance something that we envisage. And as long as we're under the radar, we're okay. Once we go over that, that's when they step in with regulations and all the other stuff that goes with it. They have taken away our ability to approach federal, state, and local government. So that goes to the point where we were talking about making citizens have no political say. That's what they've done. They've taken away our ability to actually engage our government. But it's not all doom. It's not all doom that I'm talking about. Okay. So what must we do then? We have to spread the word and awaken our brothers and sisters, as many as we can, about what's going on in life around us. I know a lot of you are awakened to this, and it's up to us to go out and actually tell other people about what's going on. The Christians had actually one up on a lot of others, because they said in the scriptures they had it, that blessed are those who have already been told, and because they who believe will go on to do greater things, and they have been told that by spreading the word, you will spread the truth, and by spreading the truth and you coming to know the truth, you will end up becoming free. I'm ad-libbing now, so I'm sorry if I stuffed up that quote, but you understand, if we spread the truth, we're actually getting more and more people on our side. And the more and more people we get on our side, it won't matter who you elect into government. It won't matter who you put into parliament or in local council or whoever else. What will matter is that all the people along the chain, from the guy who's actually doing the gardening for the schools or the gardening for the local council, the guy who's actually in the seat of work health and safety for the council, or work health and safety for the government, the person who's actually doing the taxation for the tax department, the guy who's actually sitting in the seat of government, and all the other rest of it is on your side. That's what we have to achieve. And the only way that'll happen is by going forward and teaching what is true and what is actually happening to the people around us. Now, we've been distracted with a whole bunch of stuff. This is true, that's true, whatever. But these are the core things. What I've described to you are the factors that we need to spread. We're not asking for a revolution, but they deserve one. We're not asking to change the system, but it needs to. We're not asking for violence, even though many have been angered. Instead, many are asking for a miracle, Many are asking God to pity us. Many are praying to those that keep us bound to listen to our voices and take action in our favour. I say, don't be scared. Don't be fearful. Their actions and the state of things that now and into the near future are a result of losing ground. They're losing, so they're trying to exert more control over us. The powers that will learn a valuable lesson from the people, the importance of peace, love, and respect. And that is what we have to carry forward with love, peace, and respect for each other, even our enemies, because that's the disposition we're in at the moment. Even the people that don't agree with us fully, and I know a lot of you may not even agree with what I'm saying now. Even those people, we have to find somewhere to show love and compassion for, because it is with those people that we will ultimately walk side by side in achieving some kind of victory for all of us. I want to say that our arms and our hand, you might be asking, well, how do we fight this, And the simple factor is the lips that we have. They're for propagating the truth. Our arms are doing good work. So as long as we're going around doing what we have to do, give to the poor, give to your family, your friends, whatever. You just do what needs to be done to make sure that we're all keep going. You see someone down, you pick them up. The right thing, the right works, right? Because that's what we're gonna need moving forward. There'll be times where the digital idea will prevent people. For example, I'm just saying as an example, it'll prevent people from actually buying food. If it gets to the extreme stages of where they want it to go. So if it does get to there, it's up to us to support each other. And finally, our feet are there for treading on tyranny. And what I mean by that is, in our numbers, we will be able to go anywhere and do anything we want as a group, as a united population and democratic unity. So we have malice for none, but love for all. We love our people and our enemies, such is our disposition. With goodness in our hearts, we call out freedom. Freedom. Freedom.
Thank you, Tim.